Hello everyone, my name is Matthew Perez, and this is my Week 5 presentation on the evolution of classic theories. In this presentation, I'll be discussing organizations and the system concept, the American system, and the life cycle of bureaus, and how these concepts were updated based on classical theories. I will then be analyzing if these ideas are still relevant today. In the 1960s, new ideas began to emerge where theorists began to rethink classical theories. Daniel Katz and Robert Kahn began to review social systems from an environmental perspective. This allowed them to categorize a traditional view of organizational theory as a closed system. For example, the bureaucratic system would be considered a closed system. In this illustration, you'll see how a closed system only analyzes the outputs based on inputs and throughputs. In contrast, the open systems approach took into consideration multiple factors, such as its environment, pattern activities, and positive and negative feedback. As a result, an open system will provide a steady balance between energy, resources, and information coming in. Open systems will also have an equifinality, which means there is no one correct path. In this illustration, you'll see how an open system takes into consideration the inputs and throughputs like a closed system, but it also shows a cycle, uses environment factors, and feedback to adjust the process when needed. Katz-Kahn's open system would challenge Frederick Taylor's scientific management due to open systems' idea that there was no one best way for a system to be organized, while Taylor was obsessed with finding the most effective way. Morton Grodskins reviewed how complex the American system had become by the 1960s. This caused government organizations to overlap with their functions, in which he called a chaotic American system. Grodskins believed that federal, state, and local governments should not operate separately, rather they should work together, and the roles between different levels of government should mix from each level of government. Grodskins' idea was in line with a theory of federalism that was going on during the 1960s. Prior to the 1960s, dual federalism, also known as a layer cake federalism, was a popular option prior to the Great Depression. Dual federalist was the idea powers between federal and state governments should exist, but serve different roles that do not interfere with one another. Cooperative federalism, also known as marble cake federalism, became popular during President Franklin D. Roosevelt's presidency. Cooperative federalism believed there should be a mixture of federal and state government bureaus working together. Anthony Downs began to look at the beginning, the growth, and the death of bureaus. He believed bureaus were developed by either coming together to implement the ideas of a charismatic leader, carry out a specific function for which a group perceives a need, split from an existing bureaucracy, or entrepreneurship. If a group of men promoting a particular policy gains enough support to implement a new policy. A bureau's growth was due to the dominance of bureaus. Downs believed bureaus wanted to expand to attract and retain the most capable personnel to provide leaders with increased power, reduce internal conflicts to improve the quality of performance, and to increase the size of organizations. Bureaus are unlikely to die, and it's more typical for a bureau to disappear at the beginning of the bureau's existence than later on. Some ways organizations die is by specific functions performed by the organization decline in relative importance. The functions remain important, but the organization is unable to perform them efficiently. Or the functions remain important, but some of the organizations perform them better. From the time Max Weber developed his classical theory of bureaucracy to Anthony Downs' idea of bureaucracy life cycle, there was little advancement in how a bureaucracy should run. And now, after reviewing those three concepts, in the 1960s, theorists began to rethink the idea of organizations, federalism, and the cycle of bureaus. Their ideas gave us a better understanding of what works and what needs to be updated in the current time. While federalism continues to shift within each decade to stay relevant, the bureaucracies have remained a closed system that does not adjust to modern organizational ideas. The constant struggle of having the right ratio of federal, state, and local government roles allows federalism to be adjusted, such as the idea of a marble cake federalism. Due to bureaus rarely revising their organizational structure, and the security of a bureau to continue to operate allows bureaus to act in a closed system. Even in today's modern workplaces, government bureaus still tend to focus on using the same rules that were implemented when the bureau was created. Here's a list of my references, and thank you for listening to my presentation, and good luck on your written assignment.